Welcome back to the show. We got another great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, you could join us in the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. Click that join button here or drop down in the description box and join us in Patreon. Same money, same cost, whichever you like. But let me tell you, this is the best investment you're going to make because all your daily videos have zero Google ads plus extra content. It's worth the price of admission. It's less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And we are tackling really, really cool topics in there, whether it's conspiracy things that are being proven out or whether we're dealing with things that touch our life in the way of the digital economy that's coming on the geopolitical stage. We're hitting all kinds of topics because whether you know it or not, everything is tied in to the transition into this new digital on-chain economy. So join us in the Freedom Zone. Great way to support the channel. We appreciate each one that do. Look right here, $2.75 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 2.2, but we see 82,000 plus for Bitcoin now, 1,700 plus for Ethereum. XRP $2.14. We're up 1.9 on the 24. We're up 0.3 on the 7-day. Looking at the range of price here, range between 208 and 217. We're sitting at 214. I just want to comment really quickly on the strength of XRP over the last week or so. It just doesn't want to budge. Now, I know we had a little dip below $2. I caught it at least once. I FOMO'd and I bought the dip 3 times in 2 days. I got in trouble with Mrs. Backup. One of you doesn't know how to keep a secret, right? Anyway, it's still a lot of fun and I'm loving it and I'm loving the opportunity, but I am ready like the rest of us for a brand new all-time high. I sure am. And I think we'll get it. Not financial advice. Let's get started right here. It's XRP Las Vegas. Go to xrplasvegas.com and get your ticket before they're gone. Yeah, you won't be able to get them forever. We can only put so many people in this place. Have your chance to meet David Schwartz, shake his hand, get a picture, and hear the amazing things he's going to dive into a topic with on stage. Or Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Giancarlo, Dr. Chris Brummer, and so many others. Easy A, $25,000 worth of prizes. I just had a meeting with Dom and Phil Kwok from Easy A app, and we're restructuring how we're going to do the prizes so we have multiple winners. How about that one? Super excited to have those guys on stage. You won't believe their energy and the things that they're working on. My goodness, I think single-handedly that they could create mass adoption for the XRP ledger and actually have already started. So big hats off to them, and I can't wait for them to be at the conference. We're going to start this conversation and move through, and it's going to tie in tariffs and gold and the changeover of our monetary system. All of these things. I'm telling you, listen, this is not an upsell because it is worth the price of admission. Let me tell you, we are tackling tariffs and getting everybody to a place where they understand these things. I get tons of messages about tariffs, just like the basic simple notion that governments don't pay tariffs. People and companies do. That's who's paying these tariffs. When you see a tariff on a car company, it's the car company paying it, not the government. And that goes for the people in the other country too. So it's the people and countries that are companies that are paying these tariffs, not governments. But then we go deep down into a lot of other information. So I hope you will join us in here because today we're going to tie some things together that I believe absolutely solidifies the fact that Trump's tariffs are also connected, as is all of the gold buying we're seeing with governments, tied in to the transition to this new digital on-chain economy, which I believe heavily will involve the XRP ledger. And if it isn't, I'm going to have to live at a campground because Mrs. Backup's going to be looking for me. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says President Trump's tariffs are bigger than expected, risking higher inflation and slower growth. Well, let's get into this. President Trump says that this economic revolution, and we will win, the end result will be historic. Well, let's keep going. A lot of people are taking shots because the market's been bleeding heavily. Trillions are disappearing from the market because of the tariffs that are happening now, right? One of the greatest buy the dip moments in history. President Trump says to the many investors coming into the United States and investing massive amounts of money, my policies will never change. This is a great time to get rich, richer than ever before. Look at what all of the 3+ trillion that's flooded out of the market, just evaporated out of all of the markets, stocks, bonds, crypto, all of it. Over 3 trillions evaporated. Well, if you were in crypto and you saw that go down in price on XRP, you'd buy the dip just like I did 3 times in the last couple of days. So this is the same thing on a macro level. Now's the time to dollar cost average in your position if you're in a market that bled out trillions. You think the market's going to disappear? Or do you think that this is actually a time to deepen on your portfolio for the things that you believe will make it out the other side? You think bonds are going away? Think stocks are going away? How about the blue chips? You think they're going away? We've been reporting for years that a lot of these blue chip stocks have a market ready product for the new digital on chain economy, and they're just waiting for the legislation. They don't believe they're going away. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. Let's keep moving through this information. Paul Barron says, good morning. Why I think this crypto market is setting for a huge comeback, and I agree with him, as well as the economy. He says the Treasury is led by a macro hedge fund manager, not a central banker. 2, strategy. Ease financial conditions by lowering dollar rates and oil. That's happening. That's why we see the Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico. Drill, baby, drill. Because that's going to give him the power to bring fuel costs down. When you can lower the cost of fuel and energy, you can combat inflation from that side of the table. That's why that's so, so important. Not to mention, it also weakens the oil partners that are on the other side of the world that help elevate our dollar status, that also last year did a $30 billion deal in digital yuan instead of the US dollar. Which I have also gone into Freedom Zone all the way back to 2020 of April when oil went negative. And I think that was Trump telling everybody that had the favor of the petrodollar agreement, we don't need your oil. I think he privately told him back then, I'll name the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, and drill, baby, drill. And who knows, with what we see has taken place looking back on this. How do we know that rigged election that pushed Trump out, that we would have already been in the new economy for 4 years then? I believe that. And it's just as likely that the interior government, known as deep state, engineered his exit so this couldn't happen. Wasn't the idea to crash the American economy and its way of life from within? Isn't that right? Well, I think they're going to lose in the long run. Expect shark economic asset prices recovery soon. Market has sucked a lot of wealth. Next week will be critical. Watch the show if you think fireworks so far. Get ready. From Paul Barron, who will be on stage at XRP Las Vegas. U.S. government is set to reveal its crypto holdings today, April 5th. If the XRP shows up on that list, we might witness the biggest plot twist of the year. Yeah, we just might. Scott Bessent says this on gold and Bitcoin. Please listen. How long? Listen, I don't really know a lot of people outside of Digital Asset Investor and myself, maybe just a couple others, who believe that gold is a major component to the transition and the underpinning of moving to this new digital on-chain economy. Our world is antiquated, vulnerable. What are we talking about here? Well, let's listen to what Scott Bessent says.
Why is gold moving around the world in such huge quantities right now?
Well, a couple of things. It's moving. Physically, it's moving because of potential tariffs here. So, it was unclear whether we were going to exempt gold from tariffs, which I believe we have. So there was a big move out of vaults in Switzerland, out of vaults in London to get it into New York. And look, that there are a lot of different stores of value over time. Bitcoin's becoming a store of value. Gold has historically been a store of value. I think what's interesting is, where do we see the gold demand coming from? A huge amount is from China.
Yes.
Where they, as I said, they're in the middle of an economic recession/depression. People don't trust the Chinese currency because they have capital controls. There are 1.4 billion Chinese who all want to get their money out, and they won't let them. They will let them buy gold.
So that's the response, you think. But it's just, do you find it interesting that even now, 2025, when everything is abstract and digital, that gold is still widely believed globally to be a reliable store of value?
Exactly.
I think that gold has a lot of history going with it.
Yeah.
That a friend of mine's grandmother, during Russia had a financial crisis in '98. Then they had a big inflation, and a friend of mine's grandmother went out and bought 18 bicycles and put them in her apartment, and that was her store of value.
Yes.
So
how'd she do on the bike investment?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I wish I did that well. So, yeah, but that, look, yeah, gold also has other applications, a lot of applications, jewelry in India, but it's something that historically people have all agreed on. And gold can't have a fiscal problem. Gold cannot have a gigantic budget deficit. Gold cannot have a war. So just the fact that it is this isolated thing makes it very interesting. And the fact that the entire global trading system, until Richard Nixon took us off, was tied to gold.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not anti-gold?
Oh, no. When I had my fund, I think people might have called me a gold bug.
Yeah, and he also says Bitcoin is freedom. What about Tether? There's that. What's going to happen with Tether? Tron Hung says here, breaking Tether is considering expansion into the U.S. market. This move could mark a major shift in the stablecoin dynamics, bringing USD Tether closer to American users and boosting adoption across regulated platforms. Well, it wasn't long ago when Paolo Ardoino himself was saying, well, we don't need to be in the EU when he was getting pushed out of the EU. He said, in fact, I don't even need to be in the United States. We don't need to be there. We could be great without being there. Well, now all of a sudden he wants to be there. Mr. Mann says Tether cannot expand into the U.S. They offer no disclosures into audits. USD Tether is involved in big pig butcher scams. It is not pegged in whole to the U.S. dollar, not one-to-one, no third-party audits. Tether will bring epic carnage with it. I think this is why we see, and give Mr. Mann a follow, I think this is why we see the House Stable Act say that there's a provision that a 2-year window for foreign issuers such as Tether to meet certain standards. The House version 2-year transition is more than adequate, says Representative French Hill. So inside of that 2 years, Tether will have to sit on the sideline because they're not allowed to play in the American economy. And meanwhile, PayPal's stablecoin and everybody else's stablecoin, USDC stablecoin, which has just announced their IPO, Ripple stablecoin, are all going to get the benefit for 2 years of the explosion of the largest economy in the world going on to the new digital on-chain economy. Interesting. Well, let's listen to what the pundits around the world say. Christine Lagarde and others. Take a listen to this clip. Listen very closely.
I would say if you look back in history, the times at which a dominant currency was displaced, it was always a bit of an accident that brought it. It's not like a smooth trend that eventually brings it to parity. Something happens in the world, it's a crisis, it's a war, and that catalyzes a major change. So these processes, I think, are probably going to be very nonlinear. At the same time, I think it's hard to imagine that it would happen in the next couple of years. It's clearly something that's a bit in the future.
Well, let's hope we can reach to that state without a war. That would be really, really hope.
No doubt about it. And I think that was back in 2018, I believe, or 2019. But yeah, let's hope that it does not come to physical war because it's been decades and decades of a currency war. And then I played this for you yesterday of the U.S. Treasurer, Scott Bessent. Please listen. This is a very, very important 59 seconds.
I think as an economic historian and someone who's been in markets for 40 years, I actually think I'm starting to look like it now. I think we're also at a unique moment geopolitically, and I could see in the next few years that we are going to have some kind of a grand global economic reordering. There's something on the equivalent of a new Bretton Woods, or if you want to go back, like something back to the steel agreements or the Treaty of Versailles. There's a very good chance that we are going to have to have that over the next 4 years, and I'd like to be a part of it. I've studied this. I think it's kind of a unique skill set.
We are in a one second. We are in a version of Donald Trump's Great Reset and not the World Economic Forum's reset. I don't know about you, but I'll take the President Trump's reset over the World Economic Forum's reset any day. The U.S. Treasury Secretary just said that's happening over the next 4 years.
Have to have that over the next 4 years. And
there you have it. The Treasurer is telling you that the Great Reset is going to happen over the next 4 years, and we're not going with the World Economic Forum Great Reset. We're going to go with our own reset. I'll take it. And then we have this. Chamath Palihapitiya from the All In podcast asked the great question that every XRP holder has asked.
If we try to reconvene a new Bretton Woods, we have to have an anchor asset. So it's a really great question. What is that anchor asset?
What is that anchor asset? Or will it be a basket of anchor assets? Did you know that every time a world reserve currency, a national currency that serves as a world reserve currency, when it changes to another reserve currency and they change place with another national currency to serve in that role, gold has always been an underpinning to that transition. Did you know that? That's why I've been playing you so many clips about the gold and the treasurer today. I figured it's fitting to remind everybody that Meld is a partner on with Ripple and building on the XRP ledger, and they have been tokenizing gold and other metals for quite some time at this point, and I'm loving it because I know that you don't hear people in the crypto space talk about gold, and if you do, you usually hear it in a negative connotation. And I think that is going to be a misstep for most people that believe that. These things go hand in hand, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great reset. XRP was designed to underpin the US dollar to ensure its dominance as the world reserve currency for the next 150 years. Ripple, in fact, is playing chess while everyone else out here is playing checkers on a crypto maxi board. This isn't about chasing green candles. This is about protecting the future of our children and the largest economy in the world. Write it down. That's what's in front of us, I believe. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.